Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dipshit on these things. You know it.
Finally, with 2 weeks left until the election, Tim Walz has been unleashed, allowed to be himself. So this is one of the major issues with this Harris campaign, is in the first month, so much support, everything growing, people loving it. Tim Walz, fantastic pick for vice president. He was full of energy on the campaign trail, cracking jokes, slamming Republicans, calling them weird, all that stuff. And then that ended around mid-September, when there was a clear shift after the Harris campaign took on some Biden advisors who should not have been taken on, a clear shift to the right to appeal to conservative voters. And all the weird stuff, calling the GOP weird, that all went away. Mentioning the discussions of more progressive policy were put on hold, and things in the polling began to look worse for Harris. It was clearly a terrible shift to make when your campaign was doing so well before you made that shift. Well, now with Tim Walz cracking this joke, I'm going to make a mountain out of a molehill here, because this was a great moment. And to me, this indicates a clear shift that the campaign has finally allowed Tim Walz to be Tim Walz. Check this out.
But look, I'm not going to waste all the time I'm in. I'm going to talk about his running mate. His running mate, Elon Musk. Seriously. Where is Senator Vance after he got asked the simplest question in the world at the debate? Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? And after 2 weeks, he finally said, no, he didn't. That's where he's been spending his time. But that's it. So, look, Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dipshit on these things. You know it. Think about it. Think about that. That guy is literally the richest man in the world, spending millions of dollars to help Donald Trump buy an election.
Elon Musk skipping around like a dipshit. Now look, it's a comment that shouldn't hold a lot of weight, but it does, because this is the Tim Walz that the campaign has bottled up for 2 months, and finally, after all this time, are letting him out. Now, maybe it was intentional. Maybe they thought, hey, this Tim Walz is really effective, but if we utilize this too much, then maybe it'll wear thin by the end of the campaign. So we're going to prevent him from being himself for 2 months. And 2 weeks before the election, allow him to finally be a person again. Maybe that was the intent the entire time. Whatever happened, they're now allowing him to be himself. And this also just appeals to me because I love the word dipshit. It's a fantastic word. It should be used more often. And look, Elon Musk is a dipshit. I covered this. Look at this dipshit. Fantastic job here. And here's another example from that same rally where, again, Tim Walz is clowning Donald Trump here. This is exactly what Tim Walz is one of the things he's great at doing on the campaign trail.
He missed an opportunity, though. Being at McDonald's, he looks much more like Ronald McDonald and the clown that he actually is. Tell me you don't see this one coming from a mile away. And Ronald wears less makeup. You saw it coming. You saw it coming. That restaurant wasn't even open. It was a stunt. Fake orders for fake customers. They even staged the drive-thru. We know that. They won't let you walk through the damn drive-thru. We knew that. They saw that happening. But look, everything about this guy is fake. Everything he does is fake. Next, he's going to be telling you he's a cop or a construction worker because he dances to the Village People, so he knows the YMCA. And I'll tell you this, though, that 5 minutes he stood next to the deep fryer, I'll guarantee you that's the hardest that guy's ever worked in his life. And that's not a joke.
This is what so many of us loved about the Tim Walz pick, is not only does he have a great track record as governor in Minnesota, and I'll get to a bit of that in a second as well, because again, he has been allowed to finally discuss some of those more progressive issues, but he is fantastic at campaigning. He's a great person to put out there and slam Republicans. So clearly over the past couple months, there was this intent, or with the intent to try and appeal to more Republican voters, there was this clear shift where I guess they were afraid of offending Republican voters, so they didn't allow Tim Walz to do one of the things he is great at, which is slam Republican politicians in the way that he does. But now, with the clear tightening of the election and the at least dampened enthusiasm for Kamala Harris over the past couple of months, there is possibly now, at least this is what I'm seeing from a few examples, the move to try and get some of that energy back in the final couple of weeks. So this is the first time that Tim Walz had tweeted about school lunches since, at least on this account, since late August. But he guaranteed free breakfast and lunch at school in his state. Again, this is the first. So this was posted October 23rd. The last time he had mentioned this on this account was back in August. Though he did mention it on the Tim _Walz account last week. But again, it's something that, like, when you have a running mate who got free school breakfast and lunch for kids, why would you not be talking about this all of the time? An incredibly popular policy. This should be something that should have been front and center this entire campaign. Yeah, a few tweets here and there. Like, come on. This is the kind of stuff that I just did a video on how much more popular Kamala Harris's policies are compared to Trump. Even with Trump voters, they are popular. Which goes to show this. I feel like I'm a broken record here because I mentioned this a lot, but in case you're new here, there's polling out there about how people self-identify, and this is the kind of polling that the media loves. Oh, majority of people identify as either moderate or conservative. They're not liberals, but what do those labels mean? They mean different things to different people. Because if you actually poll them on the policy, as is displayed in the data coming out of the Washington Post, Kamala Harris's policies, largely progressive policies, are more popular than Republican policies. So how can people be more conservative if the policies they support are in fact more progressive? Because again, this is why you can't attach things to labels like liberal, like conservative. Those things mean different things to different people. You have to look at the actual policies like this, which are incredibly popular. Now, there's been another, it isn't just Walz. Harris this week finally talking about the minimum wage, supporting an increase to the minimum wage. Let me show you this clip.
And I think everyone knows that the current federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, which means that the person who is working a full day and working full weeks will make $15,000 a year, which is essentially poverty wages. So there is a big difference between Donald Trump and me on a number of issues, including this, where I absolutely believe we must raise minimum wage and that hardworking Americans, whether they're working at McDonald's or anywhere else, should have at least the ability to be able to take care of their family and take care of themselves in a way that allows them to actually be able to sustain their needs.
I think the Harris campaign realizes now that they made a terrible mistake over the past couple of months and are now finally, in these last couple of weeks, doing the right thing and discussing these more popular policies and are willing to clown Republicans. So Harris came out to actually support, to be specific here, a $15 an hour minimum wage, which is out of date. It should actually be $17. But regardless, this is a lot more than Trump, who in 2016 supported eliminating a minimum wage. But just to show you polling on this policy here. So this is recent polling from Data for Progress. Voters strongly support raising the minimum wage to $9, $12, and $17 per hour. So that's among all voters, like a net plus 71 for $9 an hour, plus 67 for 12 and plus 31 for 17. And of course, Democrats, large majorities favor it. Independents as well. Even Republicans, the only one where they're a little more wary on is 17 an hour. And I think that's just 17 an hour really hasn't been discussed in media the way that 12 or 15 has. So I just based on that alone, I could see maybe people being a little skittish. But regardless, we're talking about still. It's only -6. There's still a large chunk of Republican voters that still support a $17 an hour minimum wage. And regardless, forget them. How about everybody else is what matters here. Supporting it in big majorities. This is what Harris, or this is at least part of the reason why Harris is willing to discuss this, because it is so popular. So I hope this continues. If this continues, this could help to shift the campaign in the direction where they need to go in these final weeks with turnout. That's how Democrats win, when turnout is high. Where is turnout going to be high from? It's going to be high from people that either don't normally vote or Democrats that didn't feel all that compelled, despite the fear. I think you should be compelled enough based on just Trump. You don't want to have Trump as the president. But regardless, there is a motivating factor here when it comes to popular progressive policy that speaks to people in a way that fear doesn't. So if you want to get out those people who are motivated by popular policy, then this is the way to try and attract them. I hope the campaign continues this in the next couple of weeks, because it could really help to widen the gap here in some of these swing states.